Afternoon. Welcome to the third webinar of the GGKP series on circular economy and social inclusion. My name is Fabienne Pierre. I'm the coordinator of the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership in UNEP. GGKP is a global initiative led by UNEP, UNIDO, the World Bank, the OECD, and GGGI to facilitate the sharing, promotion, and application of green and circular economy solutions and best practices, building on the knowledge generated across the globe by those who are leading the transition. Let me first thank our colleagues and partners for today from UN Women and the World Bank, who have taken the lead in organizing this webinar, as well as our speakers who will guide us through the fundamental imperative of unlocking women's potential for a circular and inclusive economy. 30 years ago, the World Summit for Social Development in 1995 defined an inclusive society as a society for all, a society in which everyone feels valued in all aspects. Social inclusion is about empowerment, connection, and belonging. It's also about access to infrastructures, services, benefits, access to education and skills development, inclusive value chains, and labor markets. So we hope that the GGKP webinar series will create a space to exchange knowledge and solutions for green and circular economy transitions that are inclusive, leave no one behind, enhance well-being, and create opportunities for all. So today, we will be talking about women's economic empowerment, a pillar of SDG 5 on gender equality, but also an enabler for many other SDGs, including SDG 8 on decent work and economic growth, and SDG 12 on sustainable consumption and production. Allow me to refer to UN Women's Economic Empowerment Strategy that was released last year. That defines women's economic empowerment as based on those three pillars: ensuring women's equal rights and access to ownership and control over resources, strengthening their ability to make decisions about their own lives and to start and run an enterprise, changing the social, economic, and institutional systems in which they operate. So how can green and circular economy transitions integrate those objectives? Women's economic empowerment remains a great challenge, as we will hear today, and there are also many initiatives and solutions happening. Just a couple of figures. According to the World Bank in 2019, globally, over 2.7 billion women were legally restricted from having the same choice of jobs as men. And they also still have limited access to land or non-land assets, opportunities to start a business, and access finance as entrepreneurs. And according to ILO, in 2018, nearly 60% of women's employment globally was in the informal economy, with higher exposure to risks, and in low-income countries, it could be up to 90%. For instance, in Latin America, women make up approximately 90% of the workforce in the informal recycling sector, primarily working as recyclable material collectors. So I'll stop here. Just want to say, once again, we're very grateful to our speakers today, as they will share their expertise, their experience, to help us explore concrete pathways to ensure the green and circular economy transitions empower women. More specifically, today we will be showcasing best practices of women's leadership in advancing circular economy models across Africa's high-impact value chains. We'll be fostering dialogue among stakeholders on the challenges and opportunities of scaling gender-responsive circular economy approaches, and we'll be generating actionable insights on how to strengthen policies, partnerships, and investments that enable women-led circular solutions. So with no further delay, I would like to introduce, I hope everybody can hear me in English, and in case not, please let me know, colleagues who are supporting the webinar. But let me introduce our speakers for today. And I would like to ask everyone to turn on their camera, if possible. First, Sandrine Gueye, who is a women entrepreneur and owner of Kaoplast in Senegal. Ade Oredipe, a senior agriculture economist at the World Bank. Yvonne Petroni Yameogo, who's a national gender and climate change focal point in the Ministry of Environment in Burkina Faso. Elena Ruiz Abril, regional policy advisor at UN Women, and Maria Dotsenko, senior gender affairs officer in UNEP. Thank you very much and welcome again to this webinar. Let me start with the first round of introduction, and this will be the opportunity to get to know you better and start the conversation around women's economic empowerment and circular economy. So can I start with Sandrine, if that's okay with you? You're an entrepreneur, very engaged in circular economy in Senegal. Can I ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you think are the most persistent barriers for women when it comes to engaging in circular economy initiatives?
Bonjour à tous. Donc oui, effectivement, donc moi je m'appelle Sandrine Gay. Donc je suis la gérante de Kaoplast, qui est une entreprise qui œuvre dans le recyclage des déchets plastiques au Sénégal, plus particulièrement. On est basé dans la zone centre à Kaolack. Quand on parle d'économie circulaire, on a l'impression que c'est vraiment un concept très lointain. C'est une idée théorique. Pour moi, c'est pas qu'une théorie. L'économie circulaire, c'est une réalité que je vis au quotidien. Mon parcours ici au Sénégal m'a montré le rôle crucial des femmes dans cette transition. Et on va voir, suivant un petit peu les défis que je vais soulever, que c'est quand même un secteur qui offre des opportunités d'autonomie et de leadership. Euh, Nous savons que les femmes sont au cœur du changement, n'est-ce pas? Mais pourquoi leurs projets n'avancent- n'avancent-ils pas toujours au même rythme que les autres projets? Alors, selon moi, en fait, il y a trois principaux défis à relever. Ces défis, c'est quoi? Il y a, premièrement, l'accès au financement. Vous n'êtes pas sans savoir que les femmes ont souvent plus de difficultés d'accéder au financement à cause de quoi? Des préjugés, les critères de prêt, qui souvent sont inéquitables, et le manque de réseau financier. Je parle pour ma part plus particulièrement donc, du Sénégal, mais voilà, de l'Afrique en général. Le troisième défi, c'est quoi? C'est un manque d'accès à la technologie. Les femmes sont sous-représentées dans les domaines scientifiques, technologiques, ingénierie et également les mathématiques. Donc, tout ceci, de fait, limite grandement l'innovation. Troisième défi, ça va être quoi? Ça va être l'accès à la prise de décision. Les femmes sont souvent exclues des postes de leadership et des instances de décision. Alors, comment tout ceci peut-il être surmonté? Qu'est-ce qui serait donc pour l'accès au financement? Il faudrait en fait créer des fonds spéciaux dédiés pour soutenir les femmes. Alors, ça existe, hein, il y en a déjà, mais ils sont quand même très rares. Je peux notamment nommer les initiatives comme AWAFA, qui sont des financements spécifiques aux femmes. Donc voilà, il serait vraiment important que ces fonds-là se développent et qu'il y en ait davantage. Euh, pour le deuxième défi, qui est l'accès à la technologie, pareil, c'est pourtant pas compliqué, mais il faudrait promouvoir l'éducation et le mentorat. Il faut encourager les jeunes filles à accéder et à aller dans les filières scientifiques et techniques. Le troisième défi, qui est l'accès à la prise de décision. Pour ça, qu'est-ce qu'on peut mettre en place? Faut mettre en place des politiques qui favorisent la parité et la représentation des femmes dans des postes de leadership. La création de réseaux, de plateformes d'échange serait cruciale pour permettre de partager les expériences des femmes et qu'elles puissent ainsi s'entraider. Voilà pour ma part sur les défis soulevés.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this very, very insightful introduction. I think actually is an excellent introduction to the next questions and the interventions of our other speakers. But I think we can already tell that this is all based on, you know, experience and everyday work. I noted your points about the importance of specific financing mechanisms, education, mentoring, facilitating knowledge exchange. Can I now turn to Ade, who's a senior agricultural economist at the World Bank Sierra Leone office? Ade, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Welcome, Ade. Well, maybe you're turning on your camera. Can I ask you a question that actually can, you know, very well build on what Sandrine just shared with us? How is the World Bank supporting this women's leadership in green and circular transitions? And maybe from your perspective, could you highlight a project or an initiative where precisely women's leadership has been central to advancing circular solutions that also deliver social benefits, such as improved livelihoods or community resilience?
Thank you very much, Fabienne. At the World Bank, the issue of women and youth is at the core of our operation. It is indeed a corporate requirement for any new or ongoing World Bank project to be repurposed to pass the test of gender tagging and inclusiveness. So you can hardly have a project without paying full attention to these core issues of women leadership and the youth. Our operation recognizes women leadership, that women leadership is central to the advancement of circular economy initiative. This actually serves as a catalyst for both environmental innovation and social transformation. The bank also recognized the fact that by placing women at the heart of our community-driven projects, our host countries are demonstrating how circular solutions can effectively address pressing economic, social, and ecological challenges. In the two countries where I've worked recently, Sierra Leone and Liberia, we are implementing a number of community-based projects directed at improving productivity, ensuring targeted climate resilience, and social inclusion in these two countries. We also have other projects like this economic diversification project and the resilience of Sierra Leone project. These are fostering circular economic principle, particularly in the plastic sector. They are looking at waste management, sustainable tourism, and new business opportunities. We have made some progress in these two countries, and I would like to relate to specific examples in this particular platform. We have the Sierra Leone Women Waste Innovation Cooperative. What do? They are in Freetown. These are local women formed to tackle waste management issues while creating income opportunities for themselves. Led by a lady, Mariana Camara, this cooperative transformed plastic and organic waste into valuable products, such as eco-bricks and compost for urban agriculture. This model not only reduced pollution and landfill overflow, but also empower over 200 women with stable jobs, access to micro loans, and greater influence in local governance. Another good example is the Sanda Women Development Association. They are based in Bo City, in the southern part of Sierra Leone. The Sanda Women in Bo City began as a savings club in 2014 and evolved into a thriving agribusiness by 2018. diversifying into poultry, fish, vegetables, and livestock. Supported by SCADEP, which is one of our projects in Sierra Leone, they access a total of 50,000 dollar to expand their poultry operation from 1,000 beds to 10,000 beds, introducing modern technology and reducing labor costs. This group has created jobs for women and youth, supported over 100 children educations, and is transitioning into Standard Women Company Limited. You can see the transformation when women are empowered. Their goal is to become a leading women-led agribusiness, showcasing the economic impact of organized women group. Same thing in Sierra Leone. We have the Circular Forest Enterprise Network. These are women in Lova County who came together to promote sustainable forest management by harvesting and processing non-timber forest products like shea nuts, honey, and producing biochar from agricultural residues. They improve local income, food security, and climate resilience. The initiative prioritizes female leadership and intergenerational knowledge sharing, reinforcing women's role in forest governance and policy advocacy. Another good example is the Destiny Women Cassava Process Center. These are in agriculture. They are women that recognize the need to modernize cassava processing, which is a vital crop for local food security and livelihood. This women group introduced advanced method business training and microfinance, enabling hundreds of women to gain stable employment, support education, and share profit equitably. The center also addresses sustainability and seeks to expand into new markets. Finally, I would like to cite the case of Madam Miriam Mako, who is in fruit business. She's a prominent female agripreneur. Madam Mako leads a successful fruit enterprise, turning local produce into juice, jams, and snacks. Her business empowers women and youth through job creation, skill training, and sustainable farming practices, while also supporting infrastructure and education. Mako's long-term visions include agro-tourism, processing parks, and scholarship for new entrepreneurs. In conclusion, these cases cited here highlight the transformative impact of women leadership in advancing circular economy solutions. By integrating environmental stewardship with social empowerment, women in Sierra Leone and Liberia are building resilient communities and setting powerful examples for sustainable development across Africa and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hade, for all those very insightful and inspiring examples and stories. I think it's clear from what you shared that, yes, there are multiple benefits for communities and the economy in women's leadership. Can I maybe now turn to Yvonne, who is a gender focal point in the Ministry of Environment of Burkina Faso? I think it would be really interesting to hear from you, Yvonne, regarding the role that policies can play in creating the enabling conditions for women's empowerment and women's leadership. Maybe you could share with us some examples of such policies or programs that have successfully created those enabling environments for women entrepreneurs and leaders in the circular economy. Can I take just this opportunity to ask all speakers to please turn on your camera, if that is possible? And then the floor is yours, Yvonne. Thank you. So Yvonne, unfortunately, we cannot hear you. At least I cannot hear you.
merci beaucoup. Je suis Madame Yvonne Petroni.
Yvonne, I'm sorry that I have to interrupt you, but the connection is very bad and we cannot hear you.
Changement climatique. C'est vraiment un honneur pour moi de prendre part à ce webinaire. Je suis Yvonne Petroni Yamuero du Burkina Faso, où je suis point focal national genre et changement climatique. Vous m'entendez? J'espère.
On vous entend beaucoup mieux.
Et c'est un honneur pour moi de prendre part à ce web.
Yvonne, on vous entend bien. Est-ce que vous pouvez juste régler votre caméra? On ne vous voit pas très bien, mais on vous entend.
Je disais allô. Voilà. Maintenant, ça va. J'ai pris mon portable. Je suis Yvonne Petroni Yamuero du Burkina Faso. Et c'est un honneur pour moi de prendre part à ce webinaire qui reconnaît vraiment le savoir-faire des femmes. Donc, pour nous, au Burkina Faso, il est important de souligner que la prise en compte du genre dans les actions de développement et mieux dans les changements climatiques est au cœur des ambitions du Burkina Faso. Donc, il y a eu des politiques que le pays a élaborées en faveur des femmes entrepreneurs et dirigeantes dans les secteurs de l'économie circulaire. Le Burkina Faso a mis en place une stratégie nationale de développement de l'économie sociale et solidaire qui vise à promouvoir des initiatives qui allient la rentabilité économique et les impacts sociaux environnementaux positifs. En termes également de politique, nous avons eu à mettre en place une stratégie d'économie verte qui intègre vraiment ces femmes entrepreneurs dans l'économie circulaire. Il y a des programmes de microcrédit et de financement, des institutions d'appui qui fournissent un soutien financier aux femmes pour développer et démarrer leurs entreprises, et bien que vraiment non exhaustifs à l'économie circulaire. Il y a aussi des projets de renforcement et de formation à travers des organisations nationales qui collaborent avec le gouvernement pour offrir des formations techniques et des ateliers de renforcement des capacités aux femmes. Il y a aussi des projets d'appui au secteur de la décentralisation et de la gouvernance locale. Bien entendu, il y a des cadres juridiques de gestion sur les déchets. Le gouvernement a mis en place la gestion des déchets solides qui encourage vraiment la valorisation des politiques qui créent des opportunités pour les femmes entrepreneurs qui se spécialisent dans la collecte, le tri, la transformation des déchets et produits commercialisables. Oui. Il y a eu également une stratégie nationale de gestion des déchets plastiques. Aussi, nous avons des centres de traitement de valorisation des déchets plastiques avec des objectifs de réduction des déchets plastiques. Nous avons également l'existence d'unités d'expérimentation par la valorisation des déchets ménagers, avec également comme objectif d'améliorer la propriété humaine et autonomiser les femmes déplacées. Donc, il y a des associations de femmes qui incluent vraiment les femmes déplacées au niveau du Burkina Faso. Il y a également plein d'actions, de politiques, de programmes qui vont dans le sens de la réduction des dépotoirs anarchiques et qui améliorent la santé publique. C'est pour dire en un seul mot qu'il y a eu bien d'actions à travers le gouvernement, des actions et des politiques mises en œuvre de l'économie circulaire. Et vraiment, la question des genres, de la prise en compte des femmes au Burkina Faso est un défi pour une ambition plus forte. Voilà en résumé ce que je peux dire de la contribution des politiques du gouvernement du Burkina Faso en matière d'accompagnement des femmes entrepreneurs. Merci.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. This is really interesting to hear all the initiatives and policies that Burkina Faso has been sort of connecting in order to bring together the environmental agenda, the social development agenda, and the gender agenda. I think this really illustrates how important the role of national policies are in terms of, as you explained, creating jobs and economic opportunities, but also in terms of addressing the waste and pollution challenges, and at the same time generating social benefits for communities and women. So thank you very much. That, I think, complements also very, very well the other interventions we've heard so far. So I would like now to turn to Elena, if that's okay with you. Elena, who is UN Women's Regional Policy Advisor for Women's Economic Empowerment for West and Central Africa. Thank you very much once again for taking the lead in this webinar and collaborating with us. From your perspective, and of course, UN Women is doing a lot in this space, and we would like to hear your perspective with regards to circular economy transitions, of course, and why it's so critical for such transitions to be gender responsive and inclusive.
Thank you so much, Fabien. Thank you for creating the space to have this important discussion and bringing the focus also on West Africa. As you mentioned before, UN Women is active in this space because we believe that climate change and the transition to the green economy is probably one of the major trends that are going to happen in our generation and the next. And now is the moment to act. I mean, the transition to the green economy, it's going to make economies change completely. Some sectors will grow, others will shrink. And as a result, there will be winners and losers. And we know that in the past, when the big socioeconomic transformations took place, women and girls were usually on the side of the losers. So we want to make sure that the transition to the green economy and the opportunities in terms of green jobs that will be created are this time also open to women and girls. And that's why, for example, in the case of Africa, together with the African Development Bank, a few years ago, we did a mapping of where those jobs, new green jobs, were going to be created and where women were in relation to those. The conclusion of the report was women will be able to access the good jobs that will be created, provided that we do certain things now. Before it's too late. And I think later during the conversation, we will have an opportunity to talk about the how and what are some of the things that we can do. And we are already hearing from the other panelists very good examples, but specifically when it comes to circular economy. I mean, circular economy is very broad. It touches plenty of sectors and it's very difficult to generalize. But when it comes to women's jobs in the circular economy, these don't tend to be the best jobs. Women tend to be, unfortunately, in the less lucrative parts of the circular economy value chain, whether we are talking waste, textile, agriculture. And because we are talking about West Africa, let me focus perhaps on agriculture, which is a critical sector and a sector that employs a lot of women. So a lot of the opportunities on circular economy for women are around agriculture, and recently a lot into the energy to waste to energy sector. So let me give you an example from the work that we do in Nigeria in the sector of biogas. These are jobs that are mainly led by women working in rural areas where they transform agriculture waste into energy that plays a critical role in terms of domestic and care work that women and girls do for a long number of hours every day in the region. So that's already having an important contribution in reducing women's unpaid care. It also gives women an extra income because the energy that is the surplus they can sell and diversify income beyond agriculture. They get new skills. They become also agents of raising awareness at the community level about the importance of clean cooking in terms of all the different benefits for women and the families that come for them. So this becomes an important opportunity of employment, economic empowerment. And these are jobs that, despite not being the ones the best paid or the ones with the best working conditions, they have an important poverty alleviation impact. And I think Ade mentioned already something along those lines. And I hope we can really listen from Kaoplas and the model that they have in place, because this is not about one women-led business. This is all the women that are behind them, right, Sandrine? All the women cooperatives that are lifted by a company like Kaoplas. So there is a lot of potential in this sector through the backward linkages to mobilize and to lift out of poverty women and entire communities. So that's why jobs in the circular economy in this particular region are important. Now the question remains, how do we make sure that women move up the value chain ladder, get access to better condition, better paid jobs, and especially how do we bring in the finance that they need to take their initiatives at scale. But I think we can discuss that later on. I think you have another question about that later. Thank you, Fabienne.
Thank you very, very much, Elena. And indeed, and actually, I think I can turn to Ade to help us a little bit, with this question. And great that you also were referring to agriculture as one of the key sectors. It's also a high impact sector when it comes to the environmental challenges that we're facing, and that the transition to circular economy is meant to address. So, Ade, can I turn to you and precisely to ask you, how do you see the role of women evolving, and what needs to happen and to achieve that shift that Elena was talking about? How do you see their role evolve in the transition to circular economy, and in particular in high impact sectors or value chains? We heard about agriculture. We could also talk about textiles, waste management, energy.
Thank you. The good development is that, talking about circular economy, things are changing in agriculture. Both production and consumption, and even how waste is managed. At the heart, of this is attempt to minimize environmental impact by extending product life cycle, reusing resources, and reducing waste. In high impact value chain that we talk about, agriculture, textile, waste management, and renewable energy, this transition is vital for sustainable development. Within the region where I worked, Sierra Leone, Liberia, this transformation is intimately linked to the vital role of women. As major contributor to agricultural economy and emerging leaders in sustainable practices, women are uniquely positioned to drive the change, foster innovation, and build resilient communities. In the World Bank funded project, circularity actually entails little things that we do. This includes composting, water conservation, the reintegration of crop residue into productive cycle. In the textile sector, what is emphasized is upcycling, sustainable materials, and closed-loop manufacturing. Waste management leverages recycling, organic waste processing, energy recovery, while renewable energy focuses on decentralized systems and clean technologies. Women have taken the front role in these sectors, both for realizing the promise of circularity and for advancing social equity. In the case of Sierra Leone and Liberia, agri sector, we have seen women constituting a significant proportion of the agricultural workforce. They are not only laborers, but also entrepreneurs, innovators, and community organizers. Historically, women in Sierra Leone and Liberia have been responsible for raising subsistence crops, processing food. They feature prominently in the processing segment, and managing household nutrition. However, as sustainability and circularity become priorities, women are increasingly taking on roles as farm managers, cooperative leaders, and advocates for regenerative practices. Women are central to the adoption of these circular agricultural methods. They have this traditional knowledge of crop rotation, mixed farming, and local composting. These are being harnessed to close nutrient loops and reduce reliance on synthetic inputs. For example, in rice and cassava farming, women are spearheading initiatives to use crop residues for animal feed, biofertilizers, and energy generation. Across these two countries, we have seen women groups who are experimenting with agroecological innovations such as integrated pest management, organic farming, water-saving irrigation techniques. These approaches have greatly contributed not only to circularity, but also to climate resilience and food security. What do we need to do to empower women for this emerging circular economy? For women to fully realize their potential as drivers of this agenda, targeted empowerment is crucial. This empowerment needs to target specific barriers, including limited access to land, credits, capacity building, and technologies. Initiatives that provide women with training in circular agricultural practices will be very important. Financial literacy and business management are proliferating. In Liberia, for example, programs led by grassroots organizations have equipped women with skills to convert agricultural waste into marketable products, such as compost, biogas, and natural fibers. In Sierra Leone, vocational centers offer training on value addition, transforming raw crops into processed goods to reduce waste and increase incomes. Equal access to land and financial resources permit women to scale circular solutions. Microfinance programs, cooperative credit schemes, and agricultural extension services enable women to invest in technology such as solar dryers, mobile processing units, sustainable irrigation system. These investments stimulate circular agricultural value chain and empower women's entrepreneurs. Women representation in decision-making bodies, local councils, farmers cooperatives, and sectoral boards facilitate the integration of circular economic principle into policy and practice. In Liberia, women-led agricultural cooperatives have lobbied for organic certification schemes, while in Sierra Leone, female extension officers are championing sustainable farming standards. Things are changing and women are beginning to take leadership. In other high-impact sector, we have seen women artisans are reviving traditional weaving and dye techniques using locally sourced fibers and natural dyes. These practices reduce environmental impact and foster local entrepreneurship. In some communities, women's cooperative upcycle discarded textile scraps into high-value goods, promoting a culture of reuse. Informal waste pickers, many of whom are women, they have played vital role in recycling and resource recovery. In urban areas, women-led enterprises collect organic waste and convert it into compost or biogas, reducing landfill loads and providing sustainable alternatives to chemical fertilizers. Women entrepreneurs are championing the adoption of solar energy for crop processing, household electrification, and community water system. By integrating renewable energy into circular agricultural practices such as powering irrigation pumps or dehydrators, women help build energy efficient, low carbon value chain. Let me round up by giving two quick examples. In the wetland of Sierra Leone, women rice farmers have established cooperatives to cultivate, harvest, and process rice using zero waste methods by converting rice hulls into fuel briquettes and animal beddings. These women close nutrient loops and generate secondary income streams. Training provided by NGOs have further enabled them to market organic rice locally and internationally. East Liberia, traditionally involved in cassava cultivation, these women are adopting circular approaches to processing. Peels and pulp, once discarded, are now used to produce flour, animal feed, and compost. Women entrepreneurs have formed alliances with local startups to create biogas from cassava waste, enhancing energy access for rural households. To support them, we need to take a number of steps. One, we need to ensure equitable and effective transformation. It is essential that women are not only participants, but also leaders shaping policies and practices. To achieve this, policy must actively integrate gender perspective, set quota for women representation, and regularly assess their impact on women. This is a must-do on every World Bank project that is going to pass through the board. You must show gender inclusiveness, you must show gender tag, and you must be seen to be monitoring how those are implemented during project life. Building women leadership requires targeted training, technical education, and strong mentorship network. This is the experience we have seen in one or two of our projects. Ensure women's success also involves providing dedicated funding and market access and community research hub. When we manage our grants, we ensure that we relax the criteria and the conditions for some of our farmers. Finally, cultural change will be key. Challenging stereotypes, engaging communities, and fostering youth involvement help create a supportive environment. Finally, progress must be measured through clear indicators, transparent reporting, and effective feedback mechanism. I'd like to stop here.
Thank you so much, Ade, for this very passionate statement and very detailed examples. You talked quite a lot about communities, grassroots organizations, cooperatives. So let me turn back to Sandrine because that's what you're doing every day, working with such networks or organizations. Can you share with us some lessons that can be drawn from grassroots women-led initiatives and how they can be scaled up or integrated into broader national and global strategies?
Oui, effectivement, c'est mon quotidien. On travaille avec les femmes qui sont très actives dans le domaine de ramassage des déchets ici au Sénégal. Comme ça a été dit précédemment, un des gros soucis à l'heure d'aujourd'hui au Sénégal, c'est quoi? C'est qu'elles sont dans un milieu complètement informel. Et pourtant, quelles leçons on peut tirer de ces initiatives? Les femmes font preuve de résilience et d'ingéniosité, ça c'est un fait. En fait, face au manque de ressources, ces femmes, elles créent des groupes de collecte de déchets plastiques pour les transformer en objets utiles comme des sacs ou divers objets. Donc, en fait, ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire qu'elles utilisent localement le déchet pour créer de la valeur et ainsi des revenus. Les femmes aussi, dans ce cadre-là, font preuve d'approche holistique. Qu'est-ce que ça signifie? Elles créent des emplois, elles améliorent la santé publique et elles renforcent le tissu social. Tous leurs petits projets, pour elles, c'est une opportunité de résoudre un problème et de ce fait, elles ont une approche globale qu'entraîne en même temps le social, l'économique et l'environnemental. Il y a une autre évidence, c'est l'inclusivité et la collaboration. Les femmes se regroupent pour partager leurs compétences et elles prennent les décisions ensemble. Donc, si on pourrait tirer 3 leçons de leurs initiatives, c'est vraiment cette force-là qu'elles ont de résilience, d'ingéniosité, d'approche holistique et d'inclusivité et de collaboration. Maintenant, tout ça est fait à une échelle locale. Donc, pour que l'impact de ces projets locaux soit plus grand, il serait effectivement crucial de les intégrer dans des stratégies plus larges. Ça a été dit à plusieurs reprises, pour ça, il faut absolument développer des financements adaptés. Si j'ai bien compris, ça existe, parce que le Sénégal n'est pas seul au monde, l'Afrique non plus, donc ça existe dans beaucoup de pays. Ici, réellement, au Sénégal, culturellement parlant, c'est très difficile pour les femmes d'accéder à des mécanismes de financement, de microcrédit, ce qui pourrait leur permettre de passer de l'artisanat à l'entreprise, tout simplement. Un autre moyen de passer à l'échelle, c'est de créer des chaînes de valeur inclusives. Il faut connecter les initiatives locales aux grandes entreprises et ainsi, en fait, sécuriser un marché qui pourrait être stable. Là, il en relève un peu plus, en fait, des pouvoirs politiques. Il faudrait créer des partenariats gagnant-gagnant. C'est-à-dire que en travaillant avec des grandes entreprises, avec des entreprises, les femmes, en fait, voilà, auraient un marché stable et ainsi pourraient se développer. L'autre chose, c'est l'intégration et les connaissances locales. Il faut écouter les femmes expertes du terrain pour des politiques efficaces. Effectivement, les décideurs politiques doivent écouter ces femmes. Elles sont, elles, sur le terrain. Elles sont expertes du terrain. Je l'avais dit précédemment, mais pour aider à cela, c'est vrai que les plateformes peuvent être très efficaces et vraiment adaptées à la réalité parce qu'ainsi, elles peuvent échanger leurs expériences, partager et progresser. Donc, en résumé, qu'est-ce qu'on peut dire de ça? C'est que les initiatives de base menées par les femmes dans l'économie circulaire nous montrent que des solutions peuvent être trouvées à l'échelle locale, d'accord? Elles sont résilientes, holistiques et inclusives. En soutenant ces initiatives par des financements adaptés, en les intégrant dans la chaîne de valeur et en valorisant leurs connaissances, on peut effectivement transformer ces succès locaux en un mouvement mondial pour un développement plus durable et plus juste. Alors ensemble, moi, ce que je propose, écoutons et soutenons ces femmes pour transformer leurs succès locaux en un mouvement mondial. Voilà. Merci à tous.
Thank you very much. This is clearly a very important call. And I'm sure that all our participants today are ready. Almost 200 participants connected today. So thank you very much once again for sharing your experience. Maybe we've heard many ideas. We're almost reaching the end of this webinar, so I will be asking us to try and address the next questions maybe more briefly. Unfortunately, time runs. Even we heard many ideas, many solutions. From your perspective, could you recommend if there was one priority for accelerating a gender responsive circular transition for you and from your perspective, what would it be?
Ok, merci beaucoup. Merci vraiment pour l'intérêt de cette question. Voilà, je pense que si vraiment l'occasion nous donnait de recommander une action, ça serait vraiment d'instituer un cadre réglementaire et financier incitatif co-construit avec tous les acteurs qui vont reconnaître et valoriser le rôle des femmes dans l'économie circulaire. Parce que tous les acteurs, il faut reconnaître que les femmes qui sont au cœur des activités de collecte et de transformation des déchets, par exemple, elles sont plus actives. Donc, investir, sous-financer et opérer des conditions précaires, elles sont vraiment au cœur vraiment de ces activités. Donc, les accompagner dans ce sens serait vraiment très important. À l'endroit du gouvernement, c'est adopter une loi sur l'économie circulaire intégrant une dimension de genre. Et au profit peut-être des partenaires financiers, des banques, c'est de créer des fonds d'investissement à impact genre pour accompagner vraiment ces femmes. Donc, également à l'endroit des opérateurs économiques et du secteur privé, c'est de promouvoir vraiment le partenariat public-privé inclusif. Nous avons confiance aux femmes, nous avons foi à leur grande expertise, leur dynamisme. Donc, les grandes entreprises productrices des déchets devraient vraiment encourager et associer avec des coopératives de femmes pour la collecte, la valorisation de leurs déchets dans le cadre de leurs responsabilités sociales. Et enfin, créer des chaînes de valeur. Donc, vraiment, pour me résumer, vraiment une action. Pour ma part, je pense que vraiment nous accompagner à réaliser un projet sous-régional d'autonomisation des femmes entrepreneurs dans le domaine de la résilience climatique et de l'économie circulaire serait vraiment une action forte pour ces femmes. Merci.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thanks for making this link between the public and private sector, because that is definitely a key dimension as well. And we already heard several references to the role that businesses can play, but indeed the public-private partnerships are key. Can I ask you, Elena, precisely on this point? There is a need for collaboration between development partners, governments, the private sector, so that they collaborate better to empower women as innovators and decision makers in the circular economy. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think are the best approaches in that regard?
Thank you, Fabian. I think each of us actors in this ecosystem have a role to play. Each of us in our different capacity. I think the public sector needs to provide the policy framework, and right now there is an opportunity with the current revision of the NDCs to make sure that any action that is proposed in the waste sector of NDCs integrates the priorities of women working in the sector. UN Women has developed some methodologies about that, and we are more than happy to share those. There's one NDC toolkit precisely, and also based on the experience of Burkina Faso, some work integrating gender in the LT-LED. So those are some of the things that are available out there. But currently, the African Union has this African Union Continental Action Plan on Circular Economy, and a lot of countries in the region are starting to develop national versions of that. So it's important that we make sure that gender considerations are integrated there as well for the sector. UN Women is currently supporting Senegal in doing something like that. The public sector needs to invest in the waste sector. They need to create the space, the legislation to improve working conditions through better social protection mechanisms, social protection that responds to the needs of women, so unpaid care, and the care needs of women need to be at the center of these policies, and then invest also in formalizing and supporting initiatives. For the private sector, I mean, access to finance has come once and again. There is finance, there is green finance. The problem, there is even credit lines, green credit lines for women. The problem is the disconnect between those conditions and the women doing the work in the circular economy, most of the time completely informally. So we need to work with banks because banks tend to, I mean, they like to say we need to make women more bankable, we need to make banks more womanable. And for that, we need to make sure that we create these public-private partnerships, bringing in development partners for blended finance that really helps de-risk these small businesses and allow access to those green credit lines. We also need the development partners to come in to invest in women's readiness. I mean, building the capacity of these women to close the gap and help them access bank finance. Green taxonomies are a new instrument across the region, becoming more and more important. For the first time, Senegal has developed a green taxonomy, and it's the first one in Africa that includes gender KPIs. So I think that's also an opportunity for us to influence the climate finance space, because as we know, there are plenty of opportunities there, but a huge gender bias when it comes to climate finance architecture. I mean, it's just think of carbon credit markets and how difficult it is for that to trickle down to communities that are doing climate change mitigation and adaptation at the grassroots level. Many of them women, many of them doing this work for free. So plenty of options, and as you say, perhaps the key lies in those synergies across actors, bringing development partners, the private sector, public sector, especially in this space of climate finance, making it more inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think that was also a very good synthesis of all the ideas that we heard today, and the importance of building those bridges and promoting integration mechanisms, and the challenge of bringing in the informality of many of activities into those mechanisms. Thank you so much. As I said, time is flying. Unfortunately, we already reaching the end of this very, very interesting discussion. So what I would like to do is invite my colleague, Maria Dutsenko, who has kindly accepted to join us today and give some closing remarks from UNEP's perspective. Thank you, Maria.
Bonjour, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and happy to see so many participants and speakers, and sincere thanks to you, Fabienne, for organizing this fantastic exchange of experiences webinar and for inviting us. And thanks, of course, to all you, dear speakers, for this inspiring and thought-provoking dialogue. And thanks to these many questions which we see in the chat. As we have closed today's session, I would like to reflect on 3 key messages that emerged from this useful discussion. Messages that must further guide our collective action moving forward. First, women are central to circular economies, but still undervalued. As we discussed, women do play vital roles in high-impact value chains, agriculture, textiles, waste management, and renewable energy, yet their contributions remain undervalued. Approach based on scientific evidence is crucial, as well as utilization of disaggregated data. In global trade, women contribute only 40% of domestic value added in developed economies, but just 20% in Africa. In sectors like you mentioned, textile, women's participation is high, up to 77% of Cambodia. Also, biogas, we had good examples from UN Women in Nigeria, but they are often confined to low-value informal roles. Also important was how to highlight link between private and public sector. To unlock women's full potential, we must further invest in their capacity building, skills, technology, and leadership pathway that elevate women from participants to decision makers. Also, it was important that we mentioned green job opportunities. Women should have equal access to these job opportunities and, of course, hopefully be represented well on leadership positions. Second message, very important, is awareness raising and engagement of boys and men. Circular economy must be gender responsive to be fully transformative. According to UN Women's Gender Snapshot, 351 million women and girls may still live in extreme poverty by 2030 if current trends persist. Yet closing the gender digital divide alone could lift 30 million women out of poverty and generate 1.5 trillion in global GDP. So for us, it's not just a moral imperative, but it's an economic one. Gender equality and empowerment of women and girls is fundamental to peace development and sustainability. Thus, it's important to further continue investing our efforts on raising awareness, but also targeting men and boys and engage them in mainstreaming of gender equality and empowerment of women. And third message, policy, partnership, advocacy, and participation must align. Today's examples from grassroots entrepreneurs to national policymakers show that women-led circular solutions are already driving change. These successes should be better known. They really will empower many more other women and many more girls. UNEP emphasizes the need for core circular economy indicators to inform inclusive decision-making. Appropriate human and financial resources should be allocated if you really want to have meaningful and measurable impact. The World Bank's Gender Data Portal highlights persistent gaps in access to finance, technology, and decision-making spaces. Moving forward, we must strengthen multi-sectoral partnerships, ensure gender disaggregated data utilized, and create enabling environments for women innovators who would be role models for next generation, for young people. And let us live today not only with insights, but with renewed commitment and with more energy to ensure that women are not just included in the circular economy, but are empowered to lead it. Thank you all, and looking forward to continue such dialogues.
Many, many thanks, Maria, for those very inspiring closing remarks and for emphasizing the importance of sharing stories and experience and knowledge. That's exactly why we are doing this in GGKP. And thanks for mentioning digital technologies. Maybe that could be a future webinar where we discuss how digital technologies can empower women and enable circular economies. Let me take this opportunity to thank you, Maria, and thank all of our speakers. Thank you very, very much for having shared all these really important insights and initiatives. I would like to also thank all the participants who have been connecting with us today and have been posting in the chat and in the questions a lot. Thank you so much for such an active, audience. We will be posting the recording of the webinar and all related materials. If you're sharing knowledge resources with us or through the chat, we will also share the links on the Green Forum, where we encourage all of you to register to the Green Forum and join us in the group where you can find all the information about this webinar series and this webinar in particular, and where you can actually continue the conversation there. So please join us on the Green Forum so that we build on this 1 hour fantastic discussion we've had and continue the collaboration on this such an important topic. Thank you very much to all of you, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.